A little psychological tool that I use to implement that sort of advice. When somebody says something that I don't like, I have whatever little emotional reaction I might have for a couple seconds, but very quickly and quite literally in a couple few seconds, I think, well, is that true? And I try to be very, objective and open-minded. So, okay, why am I irritated by that? That's the first trigger that it might be true.
Yeah.
And then, second thought is, is simply getting to that question. It's like, is that true? And think about it. And then like, is there a way to fact check it? Is there a way to test? Is there a way to, if there's an objective way to test things, that's amazing about jiu-jitsu is like, if somebody has a different opinion than you do, it's very easy to sort out, who has a better strategy in given circumstances. Very easy to sort things out and have some clear feedback promptly. So, don't. If you're butthurt about something, that's fine. You can experience whatever emotion you might experience, but I strongly suggest that very quickly you get to that question of like, is that true? And then you can make a cost-benefit analysis assessment of, is that worth fixing for the effort? What is the effort that it would take for me to modify this to bring it up to a higher standard? And in this context, will I receive a big enough reward in life to make that effort? So that's a different question. There's plenty of things that are true that you could say to me, Derek, you suck at golf. I'd be like, yeah, that's true. And I don't give a and I'm going to die, and I'm still going to suck at golf because I'm going to spend no energy or thought on golf in my lifetime, or tennis, or a number of other things. So just because something's true doesn't mean you need to fix it. If somebody says you suck at this or that, you're like, yeah, I know, but I've made no effort in that area, and not particularly interested in that area, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, which is the exact reason why I can't like recreationally play games with my friends. If I play like a game of mini golf or like, any kind of, like if we played shuffleboard and you beat me, like there would be a dilemma in my mind where I don't give two about shuffleboard, but I also am so furious that I lost to you that I may just go off on some side quests and then like have to be the best. Like we'll play 14 games in a row until I have like a winning record in shuffleboard. So I'm just like, this is going to waste way too much of my time if I get involved in this because I'm so much of a competitor, but I also don't care about these things. So I'm just gonna not deal with these at all.
A hilarious thing in my life is I have these couple pinball games over here.
Which ruined my day yesterday, by the way. I just didn't say anything about it.
We might play some more today. You have an opportunity for revenge. And by the way, I'm no good at pinball myself because to be good at pinball is, it only would have cost me $10 million somewhere else. So I'm not willing to make that sacrifice to actually be good at pinball. But a humorous thing I've noted is I've Gordon and Chuck Liddell and 20 people over here all the time that are some of the greatest fighters in history, and they're very competitive people. And then we play a little pinball, and they're like, if the ball goes away, and they're like, it bothers them, They're like viscerally bothers them. They're angry for the day. Yeah. So it has been humorous for me to watch the number of people that are extremely talented and assertive, dominant people, and then get worked up about a silly little, a trifly thing like a pinball game. Did it really bother you yesterday?
I mean, losing anything bothers me. It's like, it's a thing in my mind where if I lose, being the competitor that I am, if I lose at anything, it could be like a random Instagram argument against an account with no followers, no pictures, no anything. And so just the competitive mindset, if I lose at something, it's just going to naturally upset me. But then also I'm just like, well, I don't care about that anyways. And then it's like, well, if I don't care about it anyways, then why was I playing it in the first place? And then I'm like, oh, because it's fun. That's like a natural human thing to do, to like pass time. It's like a fun thing to do. And then I get caught up into like this, well, I don't care about it anyways, but I lost, so I'm also pissed. So it's just like this big conundrum in my head where I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do jiu-jitsu and suck at everything else in life and be happy with that.
I didn't know you were so bothered by this. How are you going to feel when we play after this call? How are you going to feel if you don't have a higher score?
It'll probably upset me, and then I'll balance it out by hitting a few arm drags on you when we train. Yeah. And then it'll be like it'll be 1 for 1 for the day.
Does it make you feel better? Yeah. So the greatest of all time needs to get a couple of arm drags on a business guy in his 40s to feel good about his pinball loss. Like, all right, it's good to know. This is good psychological.
Listen, there's ways to rationalize everything.
Stefano says, thanks for taking the time to speak to us, Derek. My question is, what was a decision that was crucial to your success that others may not have agreed with? Also, I saw a new sport that I find strange called power slap. It's about guys slapping each other in the face, and whoever goes down first loses. I couldn't believe that such a sport exists. I was wondering what you guys think of this sport. I think it's just ridiculous. Dana White made a lot of money with that, so shout out to Dana White and good for him. And I haven't been to the events. I've been invited to their events, and I should go sometime. I'm grateful for the invitations, and sometime I should go. But I've not attended any in person. I did think, the first time you see that, I couldn't take my eyes off it for 30 minutes. I was like, they're doing what?
Yeah.
That's a sport? I agree with him. It's like, that's a sport? This is considered a sport?
Yeah.
So I think what you do, it takes a lot more IQ and strategy than power slap.
It's funny because essentially it's a very low-skilled sport, obviously. You kind of just stand there and you figure out the mechanics of how to hit someone, and it's not like a incredibly in-depth or intellectual sport. But Dana, being the guy that he is, he understood the power of it, insofar as basically what you're doing is you're taking the climax of every UFC event and you're putting it into one sport where that's the climax is the sport itself. And so it's just basically a sport of knockouts or potential knockouts. Every strike thrown, you're like, is this guy going to get leveled? And so it's basically it's the climax of every striking UFC finish just condensed into one sport, which is power slap. And the advantage of this is that UFC posts highlights of fights. There's 15 minutes worth of fighting or 25 minutes worth of fighting. Maybe there's 2 or 3 minutes of highlights. Whereas every round with power slap, there's going to be a highlight. People are getting hit incredibly hard in the face. And so for social media, this is exactly what people want. People want highlights. And the sport itself is just a giant highlight reel. And so I think he's grown the power slap Instagram itself alone just to over 10 million followers in a short amount of time. And so for sponsors, for ads, for things like this, it creates an enormous amount of traction and attention. And you can use those huge platforms to advertise on. And so he was smart insofar as he was looking at it like, okay, a lot of people don't consider it to be a real sport, but at the same time, you take all the best parts of mixed martial arts, besides obviously submissions, and you just take those highlights and you just condense them down into a single show, which is now Slap Fight. So I think it's definitely quirky, but also kind of genius.
Shout out to Dana White. Your first question. A decision that was crucial to my success that others may not have agreed with. Almost everything I did that turned out to be, a crucial moment was something where I saw an opportunity that others didn't. And especially early stage when you're around like more normal people, for those of you that are still, your peers or, the people you grew up with or the people that your family and local community, those people that don't know shit. And I don't mean to insult your family, but I'm just saying in general, like if they knew better, they'd do better, and they'd be in a lot better position than they are. So if you're around, average people, they're going to have average thoughts and average behaviors. And if you want to have exceptional outcomes, you're going to have exceptional thoughts and exceptional behaviors. So when you're doing something exceptional, which doesn't fit the mold of average that they're accustomed to, and that every bit of what brain function they have and their neural pathways are linked up to say like, this doesn't seem right. This is odd. This is peculiar. Even this is wrong. So that's a normal part of the process of like if you're born into any normal environment or whatever normal means for you in your environment, then when you start doing abnormal things, looking for abnormal outcomes, but you don't have the success yet, of course people are going to judge you negatively and think you're dumb, strange, weird, wrong. That's part of the process. So if you can't get past that process, if you can't tolerate the social pressure of your neighbor or somebody in your family that wants to be a critic, then I mean, there's reasons that critics don't get paid much, you know? You know any critics that are billionaires? I don't know any billionaire critics. I never heard of that.
I do not.
I never heard of that. So,
There's a lot of them living in their mom's basements, though.
yeah, that makes more sense. There's a lot more, for sure, there's a disproportionate amount of critics living in their mom's basements than are independently wealthy, than have anything that you would consider wealth. So I wanted to be very wealthy. I grew up poor, and I didn't like that. And I knew that I was going to have to engage in abnormal behaviors if I wanted abnormal outcomes. And I just accepted that, people are going to criticize things that they don't understand. Or even if they do understand, but they wouldn't take the initiative and more so have the persistence to tolerate the layers and layers of, wretched days and abuse that you have to put yourself through to go do anything successfully. They would never do that, so it's easy for them to criticize that. And then later on, when they see the results, it's not like they come back and they say, you know what, you were right, good for you. Some people do that, your family will do that because they say, we believed in you the whole time. By the way, can we borrow some money? People that you grew up with will do that. They say, oh, we always knew you were going to be successful. By the way, can I get a loan? So those people will do that, but others will just be resentfully silent or say a few mean words about you on the internet or something. So they wouldn't take the initiative or didn't have the persistence to do what was necessary to create the success that you'll create for yourself. So just accept that. If you want to be significantly successful, if you want to be independently wealthy, or really very great at anything, most people are not going to understand. And the people that you would most crave support from are likely to talk about you, much more likely to talk about you than give you the support that you hope they would. Much more likely. People that you think were your friends, family members that you think you'd like their support more than anything. Don't expect that. That's not reality. Any words of encouragement, final thoughts for the folks here starting a new 10-week journey?
Yeah, and just so same as we talked about before, even if you're smarter than someone, don't let that be an excuse or a reason for you to not accept that maybe there are people doing things that are better than the way you're doing it. And so, I'm always looking throughout my life to find ways, even if it's things I don't mention or small things where, someone does something and maybe they say something in a conversation. I was like, oh, you know what? I didn't think about that thing that way. Or maybe that person's doing this thing better than I do. And I kind of just quietly take those pieces of information. I take the best parts of all of my friends, and I kind of incorporate them into my lifestyle. And I take the worst things from my friends, and I'm like, okay, let me not do it that way. And so, when you surround yourself with high-level people, understand that they are going to have things that they do much better than you, and it's your job to be able to pick out the things that they do better than you and use that as an example of what you should be doing, and then look at the things that you do better than them and say, okay, this is a part of their personality or a part of their strategy that I don't really want, so let me use that as an example of what not to do, of what not to be. And then so you can take the exceptional things from the exceptional people that you're with, and you can incorporate that into your lifestyle and the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And you can take the things that you're already better than them at, and you can, number one, teach them at how to be better so that you can both rise together. And if there's just something that doesn't really sit right with you or you don't want to take from them, you just, okay, that's a great example, but it's a great example not for me to use, but for me to understand, okay, that's not something that I want, don't do that. And so you can learn both positively and negatively from exceptional people that you surround yourself with.
You watch this video all the way through, and that tells me you're dedicated to learning more and earning far above average outcomes in your life. Congratulations for that. But now it's time to take action. If you could have earned those results by yourself, you would have done it already. My head coach has opened up a few spots on his high-demand calendar for an in-person, one-on-one strategy session to help you. On this call, we'll give you the pragmatic advice that you can implement tonight to get laser-focused on the right metrics and leave mediocrity far behind in your past. Click that link right now in the description below and apply for your call immediately. Do it now.